everyone. So I have a problem tenant. And in this video, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to fix it. So it's nobody's fault but my own. Communication is key when it comes to your tenants. And I did a poor job from the beginning at communicating clear expectations for this tenant. And instead, I let them dictate what I'm going to fix versus reverting back to the lease and saying what I'm responsible for. So some of you may be asking, what is so bad about this tenant? For me, the problem with my tenant is he is constantly calling me to fix things. Everything is always broken, an issue, a problem. I probably have somebody at the property every couple of weeks. And sometimes I even send people over there and they tell me there's nothing wrong with what he says is broken. So how did I get myself into this mess? What I did is I allowed the behavior. When he started to call me to fix things, I just would send people out to fix them. I didn't really question it too much. I never had this issue before. So with all my other tenants, they really only call when there's an issue and I just send someone out and fix it. And that's the end of the story. But they probably call me once every 3 months. And what they say is broken really is broken. With this tenant, he thinks that things are broken that aren't broken, or he thinks that things aren't operating correctly that are operating correctly. For example, when it's 110 degrees in Phoenix, sometimes your air conditioner can only cool the place to like 78 degrees. So then when you call an air conditioning person out there and they just look at it and say, yeah, I mean, it's 110 out, 78 is as cool as it's going to get. So those kind of things were going on and on and on. The hot water's not hot enough. The air's not cool enough. But I allowed this. I paid for this stuff initially because this is one of my first rentals and one of my first tenants, and he's still with me. And I managed him poorly in the beginning. He's also calling the HOA for all these random things. Cars being parked there from across the street for a day. Dryer's not drying his clothes completely if he puts it on the quick cycle. You name it, I've heard it. So I talk a lot about managing your tenants correctly. And this is a tenant that I have not managed correctly. And I've let him tell me what I'm going to cover versus me tell him what I'm going to cover. So this makes it more challenging. And this is why I don't want you to get in this position. You always have to remember you're the boss. The conversation that I'm going to have with him is that there's certain things that are the tenant's responsibility and certain things that are the landlord's responsibility. For example, if he clogs the sink with hair or rocks or something random that he puts down the sink, he needs to pay for the plumbing. If it's sediment, I can pay for the plumbing. You always have to go back to the lease. For example, if he complains about ants in the house, the pest services are the tenant's responsibility in the lease. So I need to explain to him he can pay for an exterminator to come to the house and get rid of those ants, but that is not my responsibility. Also, and this is the toughest one, and this is where I have not been enforcing, is there certain things that I have to do as a landlord and certain things that I don't have to do as a landlord. I've never had someone take advantage of this, so I've really just rolled out the red carpet for my tenants. But now that I have a problem tenant, I need to make this crystal clear. The water gets hot. It just doesn't get as hot as he wants. That's not my problem. I don't have to fix that. Because truthfully, he can move out. That is an option. And that's kind of the hard conversation you have to have with your tenant. If this home is not to your standards, then maybe it's okay for you to put in a 30-day notice and move out, and I'll find somebody where the home is their standards. And that's a hard conversation to have. That is a conversation that I'm going to have with them. And it's a hard conversation. And I didn't need to have that conversation a few years later. I should have had it right away. And you need to have it with your tenants right away.